recording. All right, we got 11 people on, so we are going to go ahead and start. More people show up, that's great. If not, that's great too. All right, so here is the deal. I don't believe, I've seen that we have two different versions of the books. The newer releases or the newer printings of the books have different page numbers than mine. So if you have a book that has the spiral binding, we're working off of page 11. If you have a book that does not have the spiral binding, we are working off of page 12. So what you should have is 4, and by the way, I did tell everybody that we were going to do this block last month. So I know we had a whole bunch of people calling the store going, what are we doing this month? And I told you last month, you got to pay attention. Okay, we are doing panel 1, whether it's on page 11 or page 12 of your book, depends on which book you have. You are going to cut 9 by 21 inch rectangles. You need 4 of them. Once you've gotten your, and it says it right there. Once you've gotten your 9 by 21 inch rectangles, and it says second cut, so you're not going to do anything with that. Your second cut is after you've stitched it, we will cut it down to, and it says 6, let's clarify that. It says 6 inch by 18 inches. You're going to cut it down to 6.5 by 18.5 because you have to have your seam allowance. That's what she's saying, plus your chosen sashing width. Okay, so you're going to need a seam allowance in there, 6.5 by 18.5. That is misleading. She should have just put 6.5 by 18.5, but yeah. Whatever. She's not American. They do things different. She's one of them burners. Okay, so once you get your 9 by 21 inch pieces set together in your sandwiches, you are then going to mark, you're going to come down here, and you're going to mark a 6 by 18 inch rectangle. I just used a 6 inch Quilter Select ruler and traced around it to the 18 inch mark and then closed it in on the end. Ooh, Sally's very excited. She found her stylus. Then you're going to put a 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way around the outside, which is, I guess, kind of where she's putting her seam allowance. It's weird she doesn't have it up at the top, but whatever. So I then took a 6.5 inch Quilter Select ruler and just drew around my 6 inch. Okay, then you're going to put a grid 1.5 inches going both ways. Last month, I mentioned that she said in the front of this book that the Soline Styla water erasing pen was her favorite. Well, it is kind of nice. So I marked 2 of my rectangles using a friction pen, a fine tip, and I had to kind of drag it back and forth and back and forth and back and forth because, you know, it's meant for writing on paper, not on fabric. So to get my marks, I had to do quite a bit of work. This thing actually marked really well. I just had to do one line and it marked really well and it didn't drag across the fabric. It's like a roller ball kind of a thing in there. And it's water erasable. So this is kind of cool. So I did try the Styla water erasing pen from Soline.
I think so.
You want to try that?
What is it?
This is Styla water erasable pen from Soline.
I think it'll fit in.
Give me that and let's see. I'm not sure. Let's go. Oh. And it does fit.
Diggity.
It does fit in the, yeah, it does fit in the crosshair square. You can mark through the crosshair square.
Can I go take that out there so I get
Yeah.
the exact thing?
Yeah. So it's a nice pen. Just sharing. I'm just sharing. I'd never used one before. It's pretty nice. Okay, one of the things she does not have you do is she does not have you stitch your block down. We are going to stitch our block down. So we need our 12-inch arc. We need our spacing gauge. And actually, I can just put it on the inner line because it's a 1/4 inch I'm going around. And I am actually going to stitch my block out, and that's going to prevent my fabric slipping around on me. And you're going to cut this off when you trim your block down anyway.
Ready?
What's that? Oh, we're just doing our basting our blocks together. So when you trim this down, this stitching's going to come off. So it doesn't matter how big or small or in between your stitches are. Just let's get them stitched down so that you're not in danger of your sandwich slipping around as you're doing all this stitching. There is quite a bit of stitching on this block. One of the other, oops, I didn't go out far enough. There.
1.5 squares, so.
And I'm just going to cut my thread because I don't need it for anything. Okay, and this just makes this so that nothing's going to slip around and I don't have to worry about my fabric folding under or any crazy stuff when we're doing our stitching. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do that to all 4 of these. And we are actually going to stitch these one step at a time on all 4 blocks because I think repetition is a good thing. And the more you do something in a row, the more you're going to remember how to do it. I don't know how many people are stitching along with me and how many people are just watching. Be interesting to know that. Okay, that's 2 of them done. We're going to do 4. Nope, 1 more. There we go. So I am stitching on my outer line. So I'm stitching on the 6.5 by 18.5 line. If anybody didn't catch that the first time around. And as usual, I should go through the reminders. So I have my glider on, I have a quilting needle in. I have my number 72 foot because I'm using a Bernina or your whatever foot it is. If you're using a different machine, your Westerly foot, if that's what you're using. I have my feed dogs are down. I oiled and got everything clean and ready before I started. I have a full bobbin. Have a question earlier, if I'd ever used a different color thread in the bobbin to the top. And yes, I have. But the caveat is because of what we're doing, you will see little bits of thread pull up and pull down just because of the type of work we're doing. It's really hard to keep the thread from not pulling because of kind of the, moving in different directions and stopping and starting going on. So if you're okay with that, you can certainly do that. Have a different color in the top and the bottom. I'm just using Dove Gray for everything, top and bottom. And I have a print on the bottom, but you'll see it doesn't really stick out that much on the bottom. And it doesn't really stick out that much on the top either. Okay. So my quilt sandwiches are now stabilized because I have quilted or stitched all the way around the outer seam allowance line. And that just saves me a little heartache if I were to accidentally flip something underneath and then quilt it to itself, and then you'd have to rip all that out, and what a pain. Okay. I'm gonna wait for people to catch up to me. And while we're doing that, I'm gonna point out the next block we're gonna do is gonna be this cornerstone one right here. So the second cornerstone is the one we're gonna do. And in your cutting, let me find that page. I don't know what page it is in the other book, but in my book, it's on page 5. And corner 2 is labeled as corner 2. And you're going to be cutting an 11 by 11 inch square, 4 of them. So that will be for next month. You're going to do 4 11 by 11 inch squares. Okay, I'll put that in the email as well for those of you that don't take notes. Okay. When we do today's design, we are going to be using the Spinifex number 36, and your number is right there. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it says spinning wheel 36. We're also going to be using Spinifex number 4, which is labeled right there. And we're going to be using the 3-inch clamshell. Now you can tell which size is which if you look on the very end of your clamshell mark or ruler. This side says 5 inches, which is the width, by 1 inch, which is these guys. This side says, I'm sorry, 0.5, which is this, times 1, which is this. Okay, this side says 1.5, which is this way, by 3, which is this way. And this is what we're using, this side, the bigger one. And I have not put grippy on this. Somebody took my grippy. There it is. So I went, after last month, I went and pulled that white stuff off all of my rulers. And I'm using grippy on everything now. Big difference. Does that have some on it? Yes. And that does not. Okay. So I have grippied my rulers. It's a huge difference that made. Huge. Much easier to control with that stuff. Okay. let's look a little bit at her directions. So I'm assuming the directions are the same in each book. I hope they are. But you will see that her stitching instructions start over here. It says beginning on the left or right, stitch the center shape as illustrated. So if you notice that that little bullet point is bright red and this is bright red, that's what she's referring to. You'll also notice there are some symbols right there on that line. There's an asterisk and a square. You start at the asterisk, you follow the arrows in stitching direction, you end at the square. So for each of these designs on here, you would find the asterisk, that's where you start, follow the arrow, and end at the square. Okay, so that's how you read that. If you will kind of follow along with her directions, she says, beginning on the left or the right, stitch out this center square, blah, blah, blah. And then she says, continue in the same vein, working from the center out, following the color-coded diagram. And then she has green, purple, pink. So what she's saying is you're going to do the red first, then the green, then the purple, then the pink. Okay? And there are a bunch of places where we're going to start in the middle of the quilt sandwich. So you will be bringing your thread up and burying your thread afterwards on all those places. Once this is all done with the clamshell, by the way. This is all done with the clamshell. So once we get this clamshell work done, then she says the central areas can be filled in with a design of your choice. We're going to do it as illustrated. So Spinifex number 36, instead of using the pin, we're going to bring our thread up, our needle and our thread up right at this center mark inside the Spinifex. Then we'll slide that Spinifex up against the base of the ruler foot, stitch around, and then we'll slide it down and then go left to right. So this is with Spinifex 36. And then the center one is with Spinifex 4. Hopefully that makes sense so far. So let's start with our clamshell work, because that's what she says to do. And I'll start on the left because that's what she's showing. So the very first thing you have to do is find your center mark on your grid. And the easiest way to do that is just you can count them, or you could fold your piece and find that this is my center mark right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right there is where I'm going to start. And you'll also notice on the book right here, she's finishing all the way out to that seam allowance, or where you cut line, your cut line. So we're not bringing up the thread for this one. You don't have to. She's bringing it all the way out to the outer seam allowance. Okay. So I'm going to just drop my needle.
This will be 18 inches and nothing. The squares aren't right.
What's wrong?
This is an angle, so my sides are. Oh, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Should I have a 12?
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yes, you should have 12. No.
No, 11.
Yeah, 12 squares, 11 lines.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 squares.
You have 11 squares?
Well, I did something. I can go to this one. I really need this one.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, you should have 12 squares. Okay, we're going to use our seam gauge. So if you notice here, the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to start out here, and we're going to come in with a half of a clamshell to this corner right here. So we need to use our seam gauge and we need to gap in a 1/4 inch. Can you see there? Let's see here. There. Okay, so I'm putting my seam gauge, the 1/4 inch side, and I'm lining it right up in that corner there. I have my needle down right at the line over here. And then I will just put this clamshell right up against my seam gauge. And since my needle is a 1/4 inch away from the outside of the foot, when I come around here and do this half clam, I'm going to end up right in that corner. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to stop, needle down at that corner. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to line up my seam gauge so that my top of my clamshell ruler is a 1/4 inch away from that corner, which is where I want to end up. I'm going to come down to the corner and stop. Okay, now I have to come up this way. I do the same thing. I'm going to take my, let me turn this around so you can see it. I'm going to take my seam gauge and go right like that. Oops, and I moved it.
This is the same.
I stop at the corner, needle down. And now I have to come all the way out. Like so. And then I have to, so I have that. So I've just done a half of a clamshell. And I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side.
And this is your center.
Yep, that's your center line. Okay, so I'm going to take this, use my seam gauge. Needle down, reposition, use my seam gauge. Needle down, reposition, use my seam gauge. Needle down right in that corner and end up right on the end again. So I ended up right where I started. And I can just cut my thread because I'm outside in the seam allowance. Okay, so that's my first. That is the red portion. We just, dang it. There, that is the red portion we just did, is right there. Okay. So we're following the order, and my green portion is the next thing I'm going to do. So I'm coming here. You'll see it tells me to start here, which is going to be here. And I'm going to do a half clam, a half clam, a full clam, a half clam, and a half clam. I'll do that on this side, and then I'll come down here and do the same thing on this side. What did I do with my ruler? There we go.
You start at the top.
What's the question?
Mine, just where to start.
So put your needle down at where the asterisk shows on the diagram. So you're going to be in the outer seam allowance. Put your needle down on that line on that outer seam allowance. Once you've got that down, snug your ruler up, the part that slides around the foot, snug the ruler up on the foot.
Oh, I see what you're.
Okay. So the very first thing we have to do before we do anything else is I'm gonna have to bring up my bobbin thread right here. Okay, so there's my bobbin thread, and that way I don't have a mess on the back. Okay, so I have my bobbin thread up right here. I'm gonna cut that so that's not really long. Okay. Now this time I'm coming this way. So the very first thing I want to do is I want to end up at this intersection. So I'm using my seam gauge. Stop. And then I'm gonna point this out so you see that. So do you see how we stopped at the corner, but you want to start out here? Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna travel over so that I'm out. So I'm traveling over to the outer seam allowance again. All right, then I'm gonna take my ruler. I'm gonna do what we did before. I'm snugging that up in the outside, and I'm going a 1/4 inch in from that corner. Just like this. And I stop, kneel down. Now I'm gonna take the entire clamshell, I'm gonna turn it so that it is sideways, going from side to side. And I'm gonna make sure that this is centered because I want to end up in that seam intersection. And this time, I'm gonna go over 1 stitch. Because this line in the center of this clamshell should come up that drawn line. I'm gonna come over just a tiny bit. There. Okay, and then there's also, if you notice, there's a line where your foot goes into this indent right here, and I want it on that line. Okay, so now I'm making a full clam, coming all the way around, and I stop, needle down, and then I'm gonna make another half clam. And I'm going out here. Okay, then I'm gonna come back. And I'm gonna gap to here because I want to end on that point intersection. Okay, when I get there, now it's time to pull my thread up. Pull that bobbin thread up because we're gonna bury thread here. Okay, there's my bobbin thread. Okay. So there's my stop point. There's my start point. And then I made that business right there. We're going to turn this around. We're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. So again, I'm going to bring my needle down right here. And pull my thread up. Why is my thread caught? There it goes. All right.
So,
And then we're gonna follow this same direction again, because I just rolled it around. I don't have to twist to go down here. I just turned my whole piece up. So we're gonna go here, out, come out to the seam, in, and back in. Right? So I am using my seam gauge to gap out. I want to end with my needle in that intersection. And then I want to come out, because now I'm going to turn this around. And I want to come down to this intersection down here. Right there. Ooh, my ruler just moved. That's a little oof there. Okay, I roll it flat. So you can see the line comes up the center. The line comes up the center. And I'm going to do a full clamshell. End up needle down at that intersection. Now I'm going to do a half. And about there, and then I'm going to come back right at that corner intersection. Line that up, and I'm coming to here. And now I bring my thread up again.
so it's
Okay.
right, start in the center.
Okay, anybody got questions out there? Uh-huh,
So
uh-huh.
now we're doing green, what you just.
You're on green. You should be on green, yes. And I'm gonna get my,
And did you start that from the outside so that you didn't have this? You did.
yep, find your asterisk. That's where you're gonna start. Always start at the asterisk.
Lisa, did you bring up your thread with your very first stitch on the first one?
On the one where we started outside in the seam allowance, I did not.
Okay,
Because you don't need to. You can just cut that off when you do your trimming.
okay, thank you.
Mhm. Okay.
So I. Started.
Anybody else?
I think you started wrong.
What'd you say?
I think I started wrong. You didn't start
Oh.
on the side point.
Yeah, you do. You start on the side.
Well, let's just see, I came over here. And then I went over here, so now I do a full in here.
Okay, so I'm just burying threads here to get them out of the way before I start the next one.
So now I do a full, right? And then over do a half, and then do my, looks like.
Are you on you're on the green one now?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So.
I didn't get both threads there. There we go. Okay.
From the point.
I don't know where my small needle is. Oh, it's in here. That's why I couldn't find it.
So did you start and stop? Yeah, so you did the half of the arc first on both sides.
All right, I'm gonna be right back. Okay, what?
You started here.
Start there, uh-huh.
And go just to there and
Stop down and then travel out so you have enough space to put the thing in and go out.
okay, that's what I was
Then
trying to.
flatten it,
Okay,
do a whole one, turn it again, do a half.
I was thinking go this far and then I'm stopping and starting over too many times. This one's gonna slip. This is about stupid.
Pretty supposed to be.
And then half up.
And then a half up, yes. Okay. All right, so the next piece we're gonna do, so we've done the red one, we've done the green one, and now we're gonna do the purple one. So on the purple one, we've got a full, and a full. We're not doing any halves with the purple one. If that makes sense. So we're going to start, and our asterisk shows us starting right here and finishing. You can't see the book there. We start right here and we finish right there. So we're going to come around. And I'm going to bring my thread up.
It's not hard if you do it right first.
Put my foot down. And I'm going to trim this thread off because that's real long.
There.
Okay,
And
so I'm going to put my foot on the right side there, like this. And then as you're lining this up, I should show you, hopefully you can see that in this picture. We want to end up right here. Just like that. So I got my line lined up here, I got my line lined up here, and I'm gonna come all the way around, and can you tell there's a line right up at the top that's on this other stitched line? Okay, so I'm gonna come all the way around. Right, like that. Now I'm gonna flip it this way, and I'm gonna do the same thing. This line lined up on that line. This line, the center, lined up on my center line, and then this line over here lined up where I'm gonna stop. Okay. And then I turn the whole thing around again. Okay, that line's lined up, that line's lined up, and this line's lined up. And I'm gonna come all the way over here. Stop needle down at that seam intersection and bring my thread up.
you're doing the bottom or each end. Are you doing each end?
Yes. Yep, we're doing both ends at the same time. Repetition is the way that you get muscle memory. So we're doing the same thing. We're just repeating the same thing. Okay, so I have now this little clover leaf looking thing on the end there. Now I'm going to come over here. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. All right. I'm facing out. Okay, this line and this line lined up. This line and this line lined up. Turn it around again. This line and this line lined up. And come right back to my seam allowance, pull my thread up. Okay,
Pay attention. So that-
now I'm gonna bury these threads just to get them out of the way. It really is easier to bury your threads as you go rather than waiting till the very end and then you've got like a bajillion thread, dang it. A bajillion threads you gotta bury. And it gets pretty tedious.
Yeah.
What the heck? Hey Francis, how you doing cutting kits?
Oh, you little Here, yeah.
What was that you said there, Sally?
Here you go.
Dang it. What is going on?
So we only need one thing in the center. Right?
Seriously?
And you do.
There. My needle is not wanting to cooperate with me today.
Okay, come on, play next. So start here. Start here.
Okay. All right. So we have finished the red, the green, and the purple. And now we got to do just these little half ones in the pink. So they are just little half ones going out into the corner. So you will start at the asterisk, go out to the corner, and you can just cut your thread. Start at the asterisk, go out in the corner. So we're going to do 4 of those, and that finishes that part off.
Oh, yeah, your colors are different too.
Are you serious?
Yeah, purple is the center of the 3 things.
Great. Okay, I've just been told that on the
It's blue. I think the center is blue.
new print edition, that's the colors are different as well. So that's great.
It's purple. Is that what she was saying? Yeah, all right. And so the center is blue.
Your center is blue.
Whatever.
You don't have the red to start with?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why would they recolor them? Way to make it confusing.
Yes, it is. It's just that the purple and the blue look similar.
Oh,
That's-
okay.
I think that was the
So you
confusion.
did start with the red.
Mhm.
Okay, all right.
And then
Phew.
green, yeah. Purple doesn't look purple.
Like, well, that's stupid. Why would you change that? All right.
My design isn't nearly as big.
Okay, we're going out to the corner. I'm cutting my thread.
You grabbed my pouch, so I have everything, and I did not see. Do you have tweezers?
Yes. Okay. Okay, we're going out to the corner.
There.
Cut the thread. And we'll do the same on this side. Why can't I get a hold of that? There it is. Okay. Hmm. Okay, and then my last one. And cut my thread. All right, so that gets all the clamshell work done on this particular piece.
Sure it does.
So I just got my Bernita just gave me a 1010 error message. So I think
You-
I'm done for the day.
All that means is you have a thread jam. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your bobbin out. You're gonna unthread the top. You're gonna clean out underneath your bobbin area. Reinsert your, you might have to take your hook out. Just make sure you don't have any thread tails or anything underneath there. Put your hook and your bobbin back in, rethread it, you should be good to go. Just means a thread jam. No errors. All right, I'm gonna get the right size side threading needle. I've been using one that's like 3 sizes too big. I'll be right back.
All right, yeah. Not on the ground, so I can't just dirt off. Okay. Next thing is purple. Start there. Go by. How do you get your thread up if you don't have your tweezers? If you don't have an extra set of tweezers? Usually I can grab it, but I do have my hand stat. Oh, okay. Yeah, but well, I guess it's when I was trying to lift up the short. Let me have this. All right, so start there. That was my first mistake. I didn't start where I was supposed to. Don't really do now. Just do the little. Always have to. This one. So there is a lady out there shopping.
She says she's lived in LaSalle forever. She didn't know there was a quilt shop here. Yeah. Yeah. I've only been here for 10 years. Okay, well, this is a little easier. It's a smaller needle. What a concept. Okay.
Oh, this one is actually easier.
Okay. All right, that's what it looks like with all of our thread buried. And that's what it looks like on the back. All right, so now we're at the point where we have to add in these guys. So this center one that I'm going to start with is your Spinifex number 4. It's this one right here. So I will pull my thread up inside this ruler. Because if you take the key out, you have to mess with that tape. I try not to take the tape out very much because then you have to keep getting new pieces of tape. All right, so what we're gonna do is slide that up against the foot. So I have my thread up in the very center intersection. And I'm just gonna go follow this all the way around. Stop at the center. I'm going to rotate 180 degrees. That way I don't get a skew in my block. And I have lines to make sure that this line is still lined up with that. So I can use those lines just to make sure I'm still lined up, right? Stop at the center, rotate. Ah. Okay, I don't know what that was about. I just went off in the middle. Okay. Back down. Okay, and end in the middle and then bring my thread up. Okay. Now I have 4 threads I got to bury. Let's see, we'll go this way. Okay, and I don't know what I was thinking. I just stitched straight up the middle of that block, but it's okay because I back stitched when I got to the bottom. So I'm just gonna pull that out. Apparently I just wanted to go that way. I don't know what that was about. Okay. There's that one. And then we're going to use Spinifex number 36 for this one. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to come to the center point and bring our thread up inside the ruler. So I'm right on that intersection of those two lines in the center. And I'll line everything up.
I mean,
Go right back to the center. And again, I'm going to rotate 180 degrees, use the line on my ruler to make sure I'm in the center. Go back to the center. Rotate off to the side.
yes, I think that's a good idea. Yeah. Okay.
And then rotate all the way to the other side. And I just keep using this line on the top of this ruler to make sure it's lined up with all of those lines that I drew earlier. That keeps everything straight and as it should be.
So I got two I can do.
Okay, bringing up my thread.
See, you're fun. I am do a Spinifex, this stupid ass commercial. You're supposed to hear me.
Sally no likey clamshell. I did an entire quilt, top to bottom, clamshells once.
Said she did.
It turned out really nice. And then I washed it afterwards. It was a quilt I had rescued at a thrift shop. It was just the top and it was filthy. It was a postage stamp quilt. And I was afraid that if I washed it without it being quilted and finished, it would just shred. It was all Depression era fabrics. So I quilted it first, clamshells top to bottom, and then I washed it, and oh my gosh, did it turn out neat. And it mostly came out clean too, which is amazing. My hands were actually black after quilting on that quilt. Okay, so the good news and the bad news of this particular design is that you're going to do this 4 times. And in 4 times, you're going to get the hang of it. Repetition is a good thing. It's, say again, it's opposite?
Yes, it's opposite. This is not right. I didn't do it right.
What is wrong?
I'm trying to do the other side. And just think I started wrong.
Did you start at the asterisk?
No. But I went the same place as the asterisk would have gone.
Well, but if you don't start at the asterisk, you're going to run out of space and you won't go the right direction.
upside down, or the asterisk is in a different spot for the opposite end?
It's not, it's in the exact same place. If you twist the book, you'll see it's identical, top and bottom.
So. Now,
Okay. Okay. All right, I'm doing my last Spinifex 34. Stopping at the center. And coming back around. Using that line on the Spinifex ruler to line up with this line. That keeps everything straight. And I've got those beginning threads kind of held in my left hand, and that just keeps it out of the way of my needle. All right. Now I'm going to do my side to side. Let's see here. Back to the center. And then we're going to rotate this way. And bring my thread up.
it's just- Hey. Yeah, I haven't seen.
Okay.
Walking from the. And when I was at the stroke, I.
I ended up sewing over those threads regardless of the fact that I was holding on to them. So best laid plans. Okay, I'm going to bury my 4 threads.
So.
Okay. There it is. That's the finished piece. I will go now trim it down to the outside drawn line, and that will be the size we want it. So that will be 6.5 by 18.5 trimmed. So I'll be right back with that trimmed. Hey, and that is the size you should have when it's done. And you got to make 4 of them.
And what? Gotta make 4.
Got to make 4.
That's a good thing, 'cause the first one kind of sucks.
Got to make 4. Y'all, this is just fabric. It's just fabric. And just thread. You don't like the thread, you can always pick it out and do it again.
Hey, Lisa,
Yes, ma'am.
I found this a lot easier when I remembered that I had to move the material.
It is much helpful for you to actually move the material. Yes, very much helpful. Yes. Unfortunately, your feed dogs don't work. Okay. All right. Anybody out there got any questions on how to do this particular block? Just use your diagram. So if you get confused, use your diagram. And remember, you don't have to reverse to do the top from the bottom. You can switch the whole piece around. So if you wanted to, you could just look at it from this up and just switch the piece around and do the same thing twice. Because it's mirror image on both sides. It's identical. Okie dokies. Anybody else have any questions on this? Start at the asterisk, follow the arrows, end at the square. That's the key for it. Okie dokie. All right. We're gonna stop this recording. I will get it processed and get it uploaded to our playlist, and we'll get an email out to everybody by end of day today, so you'll have it to look back at. Okie
Thank
doke.
you.
All righty. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next month. And don't forget, we are doing corner, where's the page? We're doing corner two next month. 4 11 by 11-inch squares. Okay. All right. See ya.
Backing pieces.